We in India have an ambitious and attainable national roadmap in this regard.
We have begun a bilateral energy dialogue to find ways to work together.
That a major landmark in our quest for energy security.
That this is a historic moment for the nuclear suppliers group.
Hello and welcome. It now looks like Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and President George Bush may well be able to shake hands officially on the nuclear deal this month itself. America is clearly pushing the deal onto a fast track, with President Bush now sending the 1-2-3 agreement to the United States Congress with a letter saying how the deal will bring major economic and strategic benefits to both sides. Now, all that remains is a simple yes or no vote, one that could take place as early as the next couple of weeks. And if that does not happen, the US Congress could, of course, hold what's called a special lame duck session right after their elections in November. So what began in 2005 may finally culminate in a moment of history in 2008. And to take us through this roller coaster journey of the past 3.5 years, we have here in the studio the American Ambassador to India, David Mulford. Thanks very much, sir, for joining us right here in the NDTV studio. Are congratulations in order, or is it too premature?
Well, you can begin with some congratulations because there's been a major accomplishment to get this far.
Well, absolutely, and many congratulations to you and, of course, to the Indian side as well. But it's clear, Ambassador, that America's pressing the accelerator. Yes. Is it your sense that when our Prime Minister is in New York and Washington later this month, President Bush and the Prime Minister will be able to actually sign on the dotted line?
Well, I think it's impossible to say at this point whether that will happen or not. It could happen. It's probably kind of a long shot at this point because if you just look at the normal procedures and limitations and so on, that would be a very short time period to pass on such an important and historic document as we're talking about here, the 1-2-3 agreement. But it's not impossible, and the political dynamic looks favorable in some ways.
But wouldn't, one of the things that's been important certainly to Manmohan Singh here is to see this deal go through during his tenure. Wouldn't that be important for President Bush as well? Because in a way it was his baby.
Of course, the president's legacy is important. It's important to him. But I think the most important thing for him has been to see this deal positioned in a way where even if the Congress doesn't vote, the next Congress, when it addresses it, will maintain the general composition of this deal. In other words, it will not be substantially altered. Mm-hmm. And I think we have achieved that now by having got through the IAEA, the NSG, the presidential determinations, placing the bill before Congress in good faith for a period that it could be considered for a vote. And I think that ensures that the content is preserved. And I think that's a very, very important point, because if we hadn't got there, then I think it would be up for grabs in a new administration, and you don't know what would come out.
But, there's a lot of expectation, maybe frenzied media expectation, that end of this month, we're going to see this actually becoming official. We won't have to wait till the next government, either here or there.
Well, let's hope so. We're all for it.
One of the questions that's come up again and again, because I think we all know that while there was some hardball diplomacy from the Indian side, we know there was direct American intervention to get the NSG waiver through in Vienna. The cynics are asking, why does it matter so much to America? Why does President Bush care so much about getting this deal through? Why for India?
Well, I think you have to go back in time to actually before Mr. Bush ran for office. The first time I met him, which was before his first campaign, he talked about the importance of India. And in his first administration, when they did a national security review, a global review, India was identified as a key strategic relationship in his mind for his administration. And there was a lot of work done on that before we got to this particular initiative. You may remember the NSSP initiative and other efforts to sort of bring the two countries closer together. And in effect to sort of overcome some of the past ups and downs and runarounds in our relationship. The president, I think, when he indicated in March of '05 that the United States wanted to be helpful to India to achieve its vision to become a world power, he focused on what he thought was one of the areas that could really be a constraint, but which, if addressed, might permit India to grow more rapidly, realize its goals, etc., and that was energy. And particularly energy diversification. And civil nuclear was the area that we focused on.
But you know, if you rewind to that time in 2005, I was there in Washington, and I remember even that first initial statement didn't make it. It almost died before it was given birth to.
Well, this is a really revolutionary concept. You've got to back up and realize that the president was seeking to normalize civil nuclear relations with a country that had nuclear weapons, had never signed the NP treaty, and had conducted tests, had been sanctioned only fairly recently by the United States and other countries.
And wanted to be recognized as a nuclear power.
And the idea of sort of making them a special case within that non-proliferation structure was a major challenge, an historic challenge, and it turned out to be a time-consuming affair to get there.
For those who would say that this is all about the big bucks, that it's all about commerce, that it's all about how American companies could get a slice of the huge Indian pie, if the question were put to you about whether this alliance, as it were, this Indo-US nuclear deal, is about strategy or salesmanship, economic or strategic alliance, what would it be?
Well, I think it's entirely wrong to think about it as a sort of commercially driven initiative. I think it's about the course of world history, the emergence of India over time as a great power. I think it's a question of the United States wishing to be on the right side of history, feeling that it's the wrong thing for a sixth of humanity to be outside the system. When it is a country that has a good non-proliferation record, it has its own nuclear weapons structure, and the judgment that we need to recognize reality, bring India into the system, help to strengthen the system, and by the way, accomplish the basis for major economic movement forward and significant, really significant environmental improvement.
Yes.
Which is a key point of this that
So
hasn't really got hasn't got the attention it should have done.
So the commerce is a byproduct.
The commerce is part of it, obviously, but it couldn't be the driving factor.